Coach, so going back to the duel on Sunday, I know the number one thing you mentioned
We got
was
to move forward. No, go ahead.
the number one thing you guys mentioned was missing takedowns. How have you seen the guys respond with that in practice?
You know, we pick up another win in that match. We would have won criteria. We scored a lot of points. You know, there was something common in 5 of the 6 matches. We didn't score a takedown. You know, in our losses. Yeah, we still need to continue to work on our offensive scoring potential. We got way more potential than what we're showing. Hopefully we'll see a little bit more of that this week.
What does it take to unlock that potential?
Oh, I just think it's kind of rhythm, routine. This has been a little bit odd for us to miss 2 weeks leading into a dual meet like this, and that didn't help. 14 days not making weight, I don't know if it hurt that much, but you want to get in a rhythm and stay in it, and so it's nice to be able to wrestle a week later as we head into Bedlam.
I'm going to guess if you had been told in advance that you were going to have those upsets in the middle weights, that you'd have thought, oh, this is going to be fun. I mean, but the ones that were kind of the 50-50s or even maybe a little bit leaning your way were struggles.
Yeah. Well, 57, I mean, you look at that match and you get taken down twice in the first. But really, I mean, I got to be careful what I say, but I mean, come on. You wave off 2-point takedown and you go back and look at it, it's a takedown. What else? Guy's got foot and I'm behind 2 arms, it's 2 takedowns. 97, just kind of heavyweight, just both matches, just to win those, you got to keep it together. And I don't think we kept it together very well. So hopefully both of those guys will mature through some of these, just some of the mental errors that you make, and learn how to win. I think that I think we have a few guys on our team that need to learn how to win consistently. And for one reason or another, they're here, and that's good. But just need to learn how to win back-to-back matches, back-to-back matches. It's what it takes. And so you do want to see improvement off of losses. So I expect, I expect to see 6 of these guys show something differently than what they showed against Minnesota.
I know in the past you've always talked about, Bedlam is, OSU doesn't lose Bedlam. Does that add some motivation to those guys who were, maybe lost Sunday or just in general? Because this isn't a match that Oklahoma State's supposed to lose, regardless of how you guys are performing.
Yeah, it's just, take it. Yeah, absolutely. And listen, it may even, require you to feel a little bit more pressure, right? Especially if you didn't perform last week, So I think that for us, it's about our comfort zone and making sure I continue to test my team. They need to continue to be tested. They're not at the point where they can't be not tested in the practice room and ranking matches and pushed a little bit. They need that, and by me not doing enough of it, it shows a little bit.
I know you said
challenges, feeling uncomfortable, right?
Right. I know you said Connor's kind of, in your radio show, you said he'd been doing the minimum and still winning. Obviously, had his first loss of his career. Have you seen anything differently in practices, or did you have a talk?
He just, he just needs to learn how to. Needs to learn how to, just be consistent in what he's doing. In his practice for Connor's doing a lot of good things in practice. He's just not. He's not transitioning it to the mat competition right now. And I can live with that. You're doing the work in the room and struggling a little bit in competition. I can live with that. you're lazy, and then lazy out there, that's not good. You know, so I would say for the most part, those two up top are pretty consistent with being pretty aggressive and putting in a lot of energy into the practices. So that gives you a chance to win it down the road.
We'll go forward a little bit. Looking at OU, they've gotten quite a bit of transfers in. One guy's eligibility still up in the air, but a guy, I forget his name, House, the Purdue transfer, good guy they brought in right there. Just kind of preview OU and what you've seen in their development from guys that they've got there and transfers that they've brought in.
Well, you know, you get transfers, it's going to help you, and it's going to move you forward a lot faster. Obviously, you're bringing them in over some people, which just seems like the norm now, right? I mean, it really doesn't matter. The kid's been there 2 or 3 years, you just bring them in. You know? I think it's happening in a lot of sports. It should be, you know, I think that they haven't been given a whole lot of respect of where they should be. You know, they're definitely a top 20 team in the country. I don't know why they're not there, but you know, just previewing, there's a lot of matchups that we've seen, and you know, and in the end, you go down there, you got to go win 6 matches or 7 matches. You know, hopefully more, but that's what it takes to win dual meets, as we saw in 10 decisions on Sunday. You know, you needed one more win to win the match. You know, so.
OU's got some unique personalities on their roster, so how do you kind of keep those guys out of the match and just keep them, you know, from not being the ecstatic guy that they are on the mat?
Say that again.
That OU has some unique personalities on the mat, guys that will, you know, get super physical, guys that will, you know, get the crowd into it. So kind of how do you keep their guys at home, keep their crowd out of it, essentially?
You score and they don't, right? Take them down, ride them, pin them. You know, out wrestle them. That's how you should, you know, keep things under control, especially on the road. You know, you out hustle them. You have to out hustle. And so there's a kind of a similar match. I mean, it looks like you know, the majority of matches look to be pretty competitive again. You know, and slight favors obviously are leaning our way. Some of them are heavy, but for the most part, pretty competitive. You know, and seeing some matchups that we've seen in the past.
Obviously, there's been a lot of attention on the future of Bedlam football series, but with Bedlam originating in wrestling, what's the conversation or discussion been like of ensuring that that Bedlam wrestling continues on whenever OU moves on from the Big 12?
I think we're, you know, getting closer and closer to that, seeing that. You know, I'm almost positive we'll see Bedlam wrestling in the future.
You think they'll stay in the league?
Absolutely, I hope so. You know, and even if something happens and they don't stay in the league, I think we'll still see Bedlam wrestling. I don't see any reason why we wouldn't do that. It sure wouldn't be healthy for the sport if we didn't see Bedlam wrestling. I mean, I just don't see, you know, that it's better that we're not wrestling. You know, hey, you know, a couple sports is a different scenario, but our sport, you know, it takes all of us to.
Does it help their cause that Missouri is back in to the Big 12? That probably should have happened sooner than now.
Well, you know, it goes back to, you know, when our conference had these teams in Missouri and Nebraska leave it, you know, and it took some
Healing?
well, there was, yeah, absolutely, you know, when it shouldn't have, you know, it wasn't Missouri wrestling that didn't want to be in our conference. So it was some ADs that thinking on their own and not thinking about the big picture, you know, and we seem to be doing that a lot these days too. You know, we're not thinking about the big picture, rather a very, very small picture is what we're looking at, you know, from the standpoint of what's important, what's not important, you know. And so hopefully we'll learn that, you know. Here they are back in 10 years, 11 years later, and we wanted them 10 years, 11 years ago. We had to work every year to get them back, you know. And so I don't think we're in that situation now.
I know you said it would just be good for the sport, but what are some in-depth benefits for keeping the Bedlam rivalry going, even if OU loses?
Well, one, we're two Division I teams in the state of Oklahoma. You know, in the sport of wrestling, you need to be wrestling. You know, probably home and home. It's probably two good dual meets. I don't think you know, I don't know how they look at it. I'm not sure, but I just know that you know, it's Bedlam started with wrestling, and really we should maintain it. You know, regardless of using the conference or not. And I think they will be. I think they will. Hopefully, they're moving in that direction.
Do you think it's good for the state to keep it going?
Well, do you think OU and OSU football would be good for the state?
Yeah.
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 You think OU and OSU baseball, basketball? Yeah. Well, no different wrestling, you know. So let everybody else make a mistake, and let's make sure we don't. You know, I don't know if they're making a mistake or they don't have a choice. You know, I don't know enough about it.
I would say it's more important in wrestling
What's that?
that we have Bedlam. That's my opinion.
Yeah, yeah.
Oklahoma's a wrestling state. You gotta have that. You gotta have
Yeah.
that duel.
Well, I mean, Bedlam started with wrestling.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, and you know, it's this. Yeah, you gotta, you know, move forward, and I think that there's a great chance that our Oklahoma University will hopefully be in the Big 12 and maintain the Big 12 as we make this transition. You know, so I don't think there's any reasons for them not to be in. I think that's something that they want as well, but I can't speak for them.
I know this.
I just know that I think they're going to look at the best thing for the program. And if they look at it through my eyes, it is maintaining the Big 12 and staying in the Big 12.
I know this is probably above your pay grade, but do you know where that ultimate decision comes from? Is it your mark? Is it the 80s as a whole?
Yeah, I think it's ADs as a whole probably, and it's passed through the Big 12. But I do think we're in a different time than it was 11, 12 years ago. You know, there was some feelings hurt that had nothing to do. The programs that actually were hurt, angry, didn't even have wrestling. You know, seemed to get their way. You know, unfortunately.
I don't want to get too far from current events, which is the
I agree.
Bedlam match coming up this week.
Yeah.
But, you know, brought up an important topic there. You had Bowlesby as a commissioner, former student athlete as a wrestler.
Mm-hmm.
Have you met your mark? And because this may be important in the future, that he has a feel for your sport and how successful it can be. Yeah, national championships being held in the state this year, the NCAAs. So do you have a feel for him on that?
You talking about
Brett Yormark,
our
the new commissioner?
I've shared it with my sport administrator to pass it to Chad Weinberg. You know, we need to know what he thinks about affiliates, one, and what your plan in the future, and what it would, you know. So I've sent word that let's find out. And I don't feel comfortable enough, nor do I know our commissioner well enough that I feel like I can give him a call right now and ask him those.
You're John Smith.
Well, but
You're John
I
Smith.
think I first need to go through my administration and just find out where he is, and,
I got you.
and if he's kind of, you know, then if you'd like to, if he feels like it's important to meet or discuss it, and I'm available for sure, you know. But yeah, I've definitely shared it with my sport administrator that and I don't see any reason why he wouldn't be excited about what's happening in wrestling in our conference.
Like Robert mentioned, you guys had two big wins at 41 and 57.
Yeah.
Curious, kind of what are you thinking about, or how